Day 676, Wednesday, June 18th. Daniel 10 and Daniel 11 1-4. Daniel 10 1-21. NKJV. In the 3rd year of Cyrus king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. The message was true, but the appointed time was long, and he understood the message, and had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant food, no meat or wine came into my mouth, nor did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. Now on the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was by the side of the great river, that is, the Tigris, I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose waist was girded with gold of Uphaz. His body was like beryl, his face like the appearance of lightning, his eyes like torches of fire, his arms and feet like burnished bronze in color, and the sound of his words like the voice of a multitude. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the men who were with me did not see the vision, but a great terror fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves. Therefore I was left alone when I saw this great vision, and no strength remained in me, for my vigor was turned to frailty in me, and I retained no strength. Yet I heard the sound of his words, and while I heard the sound of his words, I was in a deep sleep on my face, with my face to the ground. Suddenly a hand touched me, which made me tremble on my knees and on the palms of my hands. And he said to me, O Daniel, man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak to you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. While he was speaking this word to me, I stood trembling. Then he said to me, Do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand, and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, and behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I had been left alone there with the kings of Persia. Now I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people in the latter days, for the vision refers to many days yet to come. When he had spoken such words to me, I turned my face toward the ground and became speechless. And suddenly, one having the likeness of the sons of men touched my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spoke, saying to him who stood before me, My Lord, because of the vision my sorrows have overwhelmed me, and I have retained no strength. For how can this servant of my Lord talk with you, my Lord? As for me, no strength remains in me now, nor is any breath left in me. Then again, the one having the likeness of a man touched me and strengthened me. And he said, O man greatly beloved, fear not. Peace be to you, be strong, yes, be strong. So when he spoke to me I was strengthened, and said, Let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. Then he said, Do you know why I have come to you? And now I must return to fight with the prince of Persia, and when I have gone forth, indeed the prince of Greece will come. But I will tell you what is noted in the scripture of truth. No one upholds me against these except Michael your prince. Daniel 11 1-4 NKJV. Also in the 1st year of Darius the Mede, I, even I, stood up to confirm and strengthen him. And now I will tell you the truth. Behold, 3 more kings will arise in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than them all. By his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. Then a mighty king shall arise, who shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will. And when he has arisen, his kingdom shall be broken up and divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, but not among his posterity, nor according to his dominion with which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be uprooted, even for others besides these. Daily Deep Dive. The UCG reading plan states, the events and prophecy of Daniel 10-12 are set in the 3rd year of Cyrus. 10:1, which must mean the 3rd year of his reign as king of Babylon. In the 1st month, see verses 3-4. So the date was Nisan of 536 BC. It is the 70th year since Daniel's captivity. He is now in his mid-80s. And here at the end of his life he receives an amazing prophecy of the future. The NKJV translates a latter part of Daniel 10:1 as the message was true, but the appointed time is long, yet an alternative rendering of the second clause here is given in the margin, and of great conflict. In fact, the NIV renders this, its message was true, and it concerned a great war. This rendering makes sense considering the long interpretation given in chapter 11. The Expositor's Bible Commentary states, We are not given any hint as to what symbols may have appeared in the vision, statues, beasts, trees, or whatever. We are simply told that it related to a great war, Saba, since it is referred to simply as a dabar, word, message, saying, It may not even have come in a pictorial form at all. Its message, however, clearly portended times of testing and crisis for the people of God. Note, on verse 1, Daniel entered 3 weeks of mourning, with this period, Nisan 4 to 24, overlapping the Passover Nisan 14 and Feast of Unleavened Bread, Nisan 15 to 21. Expositor states Daniel was so deeply impressed by this revelation that he resorted to 3 weeks of mourning metabel, a word often used in connection with lamenting the death of a loved one. From V12 we know that this mourning and the semi-fast that accompanied it V3 marked a prolonged period of intense supplication and prayer. Daniel abstained altogether from meat, wine, and delicacies, so that he might give himself over to beseeching and waiting on God. Daniel even neglected the usual niceties of personal grooming, such as fragrant oil on his hair or body. His consuming desire was to intercede for his people, and obtain assurance from Yahweh that the nation would survive and carry out with honor and faithfulness its holy mission as God's witness to the world. He wanted to be certain that the remnant of 42,000 that had already gone back to Jerusalem with Zerubbabel and Joshua, and had reinstituted public worship at the site of the temple, would not fail in their trust, and that the commonwealth they had established would carry on till the last days and the coming of Messiah, the Son of Man. Note on verses 2 to 3. At the end of the 3 weeks, Daniel receives a remarkable vision of a glorious being, verses 4 to 9. There are striking resemblances to Ezekiel's description of the glory of God, see Ezekiel 1 4 to 28, and to the Apostle John's vision of the glorified Jesus, see Revelation 1 9 to 20. Yet the being of this vision seems to be a powerful angel, like the being of Revelation 10 1, who is also robed in a cloud with a rainbow above his head, his face shining as the sun and his legs like fiery pillars. Indeed, both the being of Revelation 10 and the one in this section of Daniel raise hands to heaven and swear about a length of time, see Daniel 12:7, Revelation 10:5. Continuing in Expositors, verse 7 tells us that when Daniel received his vision, he was not alone. His companions, however, did not see the vision of the angel but sensed his presence. Overwhelmed with terror, they fled. Similarly, in 2 Kings 6, at first Elisha alone saw the angelic host encircling Dothan, or perhaps by faith simply knew that they were there without actually seeing them. Only after intercessory prayer was his young assistant enabled to actually see them. Also in Acts 9, the companions of Saul, i.e. Paul, saw something of the light but could not behold the vision of the risen Christ. They could only tell that there was a voice from heaven but could not distinguish its words. Acts 22:9. Daniel now found himself emotionally overwhelmed, v8, just as he had been at the end of the vision in 8:27. His face paled and his strength left him. After hearing the angel speak to him, presumably some words of greeting, Daniel swooned, v9. Yet he was soon aroused, for the angel reached out and actually touched him, v10. Note on verses 7 to 10. The angel who now speaks to Daniel and later explains the prophetic message to Daniel appears to be the same glorious being of verses 4 to 6. The identity of this angel is not revealed here. He is often assumed to be Gabriel, as Gabriel had been dispatched to relate messages to Daniel before. And that may well be. Perhaps Daniel does not say so because, if the angel is Gabriel, he has not come in the familiar human guise in which he has appeared before, appearing now instead as this glorious being, so that there is less recognition. In any case, the being who speaks to Daniel does not appear to be the pre-incarnate Jesus, the one the ancient Israelites knew as God, as demonic forces are able to resist him. This brings us to what is surely the most remarkable part of this entire exchange. The Bible here reveals that there are unseen spirit wars going on around us. The prince of the kingdom of Persia, verse 13, see verse 20, and the prince of Greece, verse 20, are evidently spirit rulers over these empires under the chief of demons, Satan the devil. Jesus made it clear that Satan is the ruler of this world. See John 12:31, 14:30, 16:11. And within his demonic kingdom are various echelons of power, forces and authorities, and rulers of darkness and powers in the spiritual world. Ephesians 6:12, Contemporary English Version. Mention is even made in Daniel 10:13 of the kings of Persia, plural, evidently demonic sub-kings under the leading prince of Persia, himself subject to Satan. These evil forces were able to impede the divine messenger until he received help from another powerful angel, though this was only within the limits that God permitted. Expositors explains it this way: the powers of evil apparently have the capacity to bring about hindrances and delays, when God allows it, even of the delivery of the answers to believers whose requests God is minded to answer. God's response was immediate so far as his intention was concerned, as the messenger was dispatched when Daniel's prayerful seeking for help and understanding began. But the prince of the Persian kingdom v13, apparently the satanic agent assigned to the sponsorship and control of the Persian realm, put up a determined opposition to the actual delivery of the divine answer. While God can, of course, override the united resistance of all the forces of evil, if he chooses to do so, he accords to demons certain limited powers of obstruction and rebellion, somewhat like those he allows humans. In both cases, the exercise of free will in opposition to the Lord of Heaven is permitted by him when he sees fit. But as Job 1:12 and 2:6 indicate, the malignity of Satan is never allowed to go beyond the due limit set by God, who will not allow the believer to be tested beyond his limit. 1 Cor 10:13. Verse 13 of Daniel 10 shows that the angels of God have power to counteract and thwart the agents of the devil. Here it was the archangel, Michael, one of the chief princes, who broke the hindrance put up by the demonic king of Persia, and paved the way for the interpreting angel to deliver God's answer to Daniel. Note on verses 12 to 13. Michael is evidently one of the most powerful of God's angels. He is mentioned 3 times in the Old Testament, all in the book of Daniel. Daniel 10:13, Daniel 10:21, Daniel 12:1, and twice in the New Testament, Jude 1:9, Revelation 12:7. The latter citation refers to a future spirit war in heaven. As for how spirit beings fight and what weapons they are able to use against one another, we have no idea. But both sides evidently have powerful forces at their disposal. Of course, the omnipotent God will ultimately cause all wickedness to be overthrown. Indeed, he could have eliminated the resistance altogether in the case of delivering the message to Daniel. Yet he did not. He evidently saw some use in permitting it, perhaps for the sake of Daniel, for the messenger and his other angels, or even for us reading the account today. Returning to Daniel 10, observe that one basic principle of prayer is set forth by this example of delayed response. It is the principle of undiscourageable persistence. Jesus taught his disciples that they should always pray and not give up. Luke 18:1. There may be hindering factors of which a praying Christian knows nothing as he wonders why the answers to his requests are delayed. Nevertheless, he is to keep on praying. It may be that he will not receive an answer because he has given up on the 20th day when he should have persisted to the 21st day. Note on Daniel 10:12-13. The draining of Daniel's strength due to being overwhelmed at the presence of the divine messenger finally ceases. For the 3rd time in this chapter, Daniel is supernaturally strengthened by one who touched him. See also VV 10:16. The first touch enabled him to arise from the ground, the second to speak, and the third to carry on a conversation. Nelson Study Bible. Note on verse 18. At last Daniel is able to hear the interpretation. The angel begins by telling Daniel that the spirit war was not yet over, verses 20-21. This appears to have relevance to the message he brought. Consider that the angel was battling the spirit forces behind the Persian Empire. Next he says, the prince of Greece will come, verse 20. The Persian Empire would eventually fall to the Hellenistic Greek Empire of Alexander the Great. Perhaps the messenger's fight with its demons would not come until then. Interestingly, it may well be that Satan's forces fight against each other. Perhaps the demonic forces behind Persia were dominant at this time and those behind Greece would gain dominance later, all within God's ultimate allowance to fulfill prophecy. Expositors offers this interesting suggestion about the context of the spirit fight. The occasion for the spiritual warfare at this time of Persian dominance was the restoration of the believing remnant of Israel to the Holy Land and their survival there as a commonwealth of the faithful, living in obedience to Holy Scripture, knowing that such a development could lead to the ultimate appearance of the Son of God as the Messiah for God's redeemed. Satan and all his hosts were determined to thwart the renewal of Israel and the deliverance of her people from destruction. The supreme effort to exterminate them altogether was to take place some 55 years later in the reign of Ahasuerus Xerxes, when Haman secured his consent to obliterate the entire Jewish race. The conflict between Michael and the Prince of Persia 10:13 may have had some bearing on this event, and it may have been Michael's victory over his satanic foes that paved the way for Queen Esther to thwart this genocide. The second effort of Satan was to take place under the Greek rule of Antiochus Epiphanes, who sought to obliterate the Jewish faith by forbidding its practice on pain of death. The momentous events of 167 to 164 BC, or 168 to 165, foretold by the prophecy now explained to Daniel in chapter 11, may well have been profoundly affected by this supernatural warfare between the forces of heaven and the demons. Though this is not explicitly stated here, in the light of subsequent events it is reasonable to assume that these were some of the issues over which Michael was locked in combat with Satan's deputies to Persia and Greece. Note on 11:1. Something else interesting to observe in this exchange is the angel's statement. I will tell you what is noted in the Scripture of Truth, Daniel 10:21. This was before Daniel even wrote it down. Evidently the prophecy now being related to Daniel was, amazingly, already written down in the Bible of heaven, so to speak. He was merely transcribing it for us. The angel then begins the specifics of the prophecy. And what specifics they are, as the New Open Bible, quoted in the Beyond Today Bible Commentary's introduction to the book of Daniel, says, Daniel 11 alone contains over 100 specific prophecies of historical events that literally came true. This chapter is amazing proof of the divine inspiration of Scripture. The prophecy begins by stating that 3 more kings will arise in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than them all by his strength. Through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. Verse 2. This is not to say that there would be only 4 more kings in the Persian Empire following Cyrus, for there were in fact 12 more. Rather, only the first 4 are being documented here before the fact. First came Cyrus's elder son Cambyses 530 to 522 BC. Next, an impostor named Gaumata or Bardia reigned for a short time 522. He is often referred to as Pseudo-Smerdis because he passed himself off as Cyrus's younger son, Smerdis, the real Smerdis, having been assassinated by his brother's agents. Next was Darius the Persian 522 to 486, a cousin of Cyrus, who killed the impostor and took his place as king. The 4th king was Darius's son Xerxes 486 to 465. Who, being the wealthiest of them all, launched an all-out war against Greece. In fact, his assault is reckoned to be one of the greatest in all of ancient history. The Greek historian Herodotus estimated his army at about 1,000,000 men. Yet Xerxes did not ultimately triumph. After united Greek forces defeated his navy at the Battle of Salamis in 480 BC, he was forced to beat a hasty retreat. The period that followed saw the steady rise of Greece and the steady decline of Persia. According to the prophecy, a mighty king would arise, verse 3. It does not say he would come immediately. Nor does it say what nationality he would represent. However, the implication is that this ruler would be greater than Xerxes, and no such person would fit the bill until the conquest by the Greco-Macedonian ruler Alexander the Great. Moreover, when we compare this prophecy of how the mighty king would be broken and his empire divided into 4 parts, verse 4, with an almost identical prophecy given earlier in Daniel 8, it becomes rather obvious what is meant here. Alexander is the only one who could be meant. The empire ended up divided between Alexanders, generals Ptolemy Soter, Seleucus Nicator, Cassander, and Lysimachus. Ptolemy ruled Egypt and Palestine. Seleucus ruled Syria, Mesopotamia, and Persia. Cassander ruled Greece and Macedonia, and Lysimachus ruled Asia Minor. As we will see, the kingdoms of Cassander and Lysimachus drop out of the prophecy at this point, as they are no longer relevant to the story being revealed to Daniel. The rest of the prophecy follows the progress of Seleucid Syria to the north and Ptolemaic Egypt to the south and their successors, and how God's people would fare through the infighting between them, all the way to the end time. As the angel had told Daniel in 10:14, Now I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people in the latter days, for the vision refers to many days yet to come. End.